We had just started this canto last time and we did a few sentences. The Madonna of Suffering is the first soul force Savitri is meeting in the inner countries. There were many bright forms. What we have in this canto is the description of just three. The first Madonna is the Madonna of Suffering, My Lady of Suffering. And she is one who is full of compassion. Karuna, as we would call in Sanskrit, Karuna. Absorbed in a deep compassion's ecstasy, lifting the mild ray of her patient gaze in soft, sweet, training words, slowly she spoke. Absorbed in a deep compassion's ecstasy. That is her character. That is her nature. Although she is the mother of sorrows, suffering, but that sorrow is coming out of the compassion for the creature, for man. Now, in this phrase, deep compassion's ecstasy, what does this deep stand for? Is it ecstasy which is deep, or is it compassion which is deep? In a deep compassion, you see, the English will allow both. English will allow both. It can be deep compassion, it can be compassion's deep ecstasy. Obviously, if you write down absorbed in a compassion's deep ecstasy, the meaning is explicit, but the poet is gone. The poet is gone. Deep has to be here only, not with ecstasy. Now, so we can link up this deep either with compassion or with ecstasy. But seeing the drift of the whole presentation, it is more the compassion which is deep than the ecstasy. It is deep compassion. It's ecstasy. It is the ecstasy of deep compassion which is standing for her. Deep because we have seen earlier also, accepting the universe as her body of woe. That is the depth of her compassion. That is the depth of her compassion. It's not so much the ecstasy which matters, but the depth of compassion which is important. And she is accepting the entire misery, suffering, anguish of this creation. And it is that depth of compassion which is now being presented here. So I will connect deep more with compassion than with ecstasy. Absorbed in a deep compassion's ecstasy, lifting the mild ray of her patient gaze, mild, because she cannot assert. She is a person who will have compassion, but will not impose that compassion on others. She even lacks that kind of a strength to impose her will on others. And later on we'll see that when Savitri comes back, she tells this Madonna, when I come back one day, I will give you strength to stand that thing. I will give strength. And therefore, it is a mild ray which is going to get more strength when Savitri comes back after that. Lifting the ray, mild ray of her patient gaze. So she is quite willing to suffer for a long time, long periods of time, and helping man, helping the creature. In soft, sweet, training words, slowly she spoke. See how emphatically each word with pause is saying. And see the soft, sweet, slow spoke. See the alliteration of S, the sibilant. You see the flow. Soft, sweet, training words, slowly she spoke. It's a double alliteration actually. S alliteration is there. T, T here, T here, T here, training words. She spoke. S and T alliteration, you see, double alliteration. In soft, sweet, training words, she spoke. Means one after the other, the words are coming like a train in a sequel. Oh Savitri, I am thy secret soul. You are looking for your soul. Here I am. I am a part of your soul, secret soul. She immediately gives assurance to Savitri. To share the suffering of the world I came. I draw my children's pangs into my breast. That is the depth of her compassion. That is the depth of her compassion, you see. I draw my children's pangs into my breast. I hold all the anguish, all the suffering of man, of humanity, of this creature, you see. I am the nurse of the dolor beneath the star of this suffering, of this anguish, of this misery. I am one who is taking care of, nursing man. It is not that the nurse of the dolor. She is not nursing dolor in the sense that she is increasing dolor. She is taking care of the dolor, of suffering. Nurse, you see. I am the nurse of the dolor beneath the stars, beneath the stars. Well, what she is saying that, look, up above in the sky, there is no dolor, there is no sorrow, there is no suffering. It is here down below, beneath the stars. Beneath the stars in the night.
What did you say about the nurse? She is
sorrow, suffering.
And on the nurse of the dollar?
Nurse means she is taking like an ill person. How you take the care of an ill person?
Okay, so she is not the person who takes care of the dollar.
Yes, nurse is the one. Yeah, person who takes care of it.
Take care. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, this word nurse in India, in England also, English word is used for a female nurse. But in the American medical system, even a man is a nurse. Yes, he is a nurse, you see, like that, who takes care of the patient. I am the soul of all who wailingly writhe, squirming, making uneasy movements like that, writhing like a worm, I am the soul of all who wailing writhe under the ruthless harrow of the gods, ruthless harrow of the gods. Harrow, the instrument of suffering. You must have seen during the Inquisition period how they used rack and pinion to torture the non-believers. Non-believers, you see. Galileo was shown all the instruments of pain. You have got a rack and a pinion, put your leg on that and push it around that thing, you see, like that, you see. And then you rise, you scum like that, you see. We have seen those kind of horrors also, and it is that reference, ruthless, no mercy at all. You are talking of God, but still this is the kind of a cruel act you are doing. Therefore, harrow of the gods, you see. You must believe in God by forcing that. I am woman. Again he is saying nurse, and slave and beaten beast. Well, she suffers. She is willing to suffer. I tend the hands that gave me the cruel blows. So people who come and beat me, still I take care of them, see. The hearts that spurned my love and zeal as served. The heart has spurned my love and zeal. Spurned my love and zeal. This is a single phrase. My love and zeal. Spurned, shunned, not accepted. Has spurned. I serve. Now, basically, in terms of grammatical construction, this is an inversion. The straightforward line will be, I serve the heart that spurned my love and zeal. This line should be, in terms of the meaning, the main clause is I serve. I the subject, serve is the verb. I serve what? The hearts, the object is the heart. That spurned my love and zeal. But here, it is an inversion. You see, if you read like this one, I serve the heart that spurned my love and zeal. Well, it is possible, it's not so bad, but still it's not poetic enough. It doesn't bring that force. So, Shabendra normally in poetic constructions does not resort to inversion. In fact, he tells specifically to avoid inversion. He tells very emphatically in poetry, avoid as far as possible inversion. Inversion means bringing the main clause after the object clauses. But here he is departing from his own rule because that serves that purpose better for him by departing. The hearts that spurned my love and zeal, I serve. That is how you read. In other words, there will be a small pause after zeal when you are reading. I am the courted queen, the pampered doll. Yeah. I am the giver of the bowl of rice. So I give rice to everybody. I feed people. Giver of the bowl of rice. I serve food, nourishment to humankind, to one man. Bowl of rice, giver of bowl of rice. In the Indian custom, in the Indian tradition, the goddess who serves food, she is called Annapurna. Anna means food. Annapurna. She serves that. So she is here, Annapurna now. I am the giver of the bowl of rice. I serve. I am the worshipped angel of the house. Worshipped angel of the house. The woman who is responsible for all the good in the house. And she is respected for that purpose. She is the angel of the house. Now, see, I am the worshipped angel, so naturally a very faithful, very pious, very holy, very considerate lady in the house, elderly person who will take care of every family member in a proper manner and all that thing. She will be worshipped, she will be respected by everybody in the family, see. So I am that, she says the same. Now, this is the plain meaning of that thing, but there is a reference to a poem by Patmore, Coventry Patmore, to the angel in the house. He has a poem entitled The Angel in the House. Shabendra has physically lifted this phrase. Instead of saying angel in the house, he says angel of the house. What we have here is angel of the house. The popular Victorian image of an ideal or the ideal wife or woman to be the angel in the house. She was expected to be devoted and submissive to her husband. The angel was passive and powerless, meek, charming, graceful, sympathetic, self-sacrificing. The needs of others are greater for her than her own need. If children are not getting proper food, she will serve from her own dish to them, you see. Self-sacrificing, pious, above all, pure. The phrase angel in the house comes from the title of an immensely popular poem by Coventry Patmore, in which he holds his angel wife up as a model for all women. Patmore has written a poem on his own wife, who is the angel of his house. These are some parts from the poem. Man must be pleased. That is what the angel in the house will do. Man must be pleased. But him to please is woman's pleasure. Down to gulf of his condoled necessities, she casts her best. She flings herself. How often flings or not, and yokes her heart to an icicle of whim, small bit of it, whose each impatient word provokes another, not from her, but him. While she, too gentle, even to force her patience by kind replies, she will not force, even her replies will be very kind, patient, removed, with pardon in her pitying eyes, as if he once, by shame oppressed, a comfortable word confers. She leans and weeps against his breast, and seems to think the sin was hers, not he. He is not at fault. I am at fault. That's what she says. Hers. Or an eye to see her charms. At any time, she still his wife, dearly devoted to his arms. She loves with love that cannot tire. She loves with love that cannot tire. That is the thing, you see. And when, she loves alone, through passionate duty, love springs higher. So by that love, the love itself gets elevated, gets more sublime, becomes more sublime. As grass grows taller around the stone, that is the way you see, she grows, her love grows. Initially, this ideal primarily expressed the values of the middle classes. However, Queen Victoria's devoting herself to her husband, Prince Albert, had no domestic life encouraged the ideal to spread throughout 19th century society. She was not like that herself, but the Victorian ideal is that, you see. Of course, modern girls, they will not like this thing at all. they won't like this thing at all. This is nonsense, you see. They're all too old, etc. These wives say, man must be pleased, but him must please, etc. The ideal of the angel in the house, following the publication of Patmore's poem, the term angel in the house came to be used in reference to women who embodied the Victorian feminine ideal. A wife and mother who was selflessly devoted to her children and submissive to her husband. Now these values are gone totally, you see. I don't know if it's for good or for bad, but they are not there now. This poem was written in 1862, so, yeah, about that, sorry, title 1854. So that is the angel in the house, you see. So you see, Sri Aurobindo is very alert when he is describing this mother of deep compassions, ecstasy, with deep compassions of ecstasy. She is very careful in the family. She takes care of every detail of the family members and all that, you see. Angel of the house, as I said, he uses of, not in the house. Angel in the house, no, he is the angel of the house.